So what we're going to talk about tonight, obviously we're going to talk about some basics in nutrition. Every Monday I pour through food journals after food journals, and I think sometimes people get away from what are the basics. The basics being, what is a carbohydrate, what is a protein, what is a fat, and what each of those is going to do for me. So I want to go back to the basics tonight and address just the fundamentals. I'm an old football coach, and it's like sometimes we get into the middle of the season, we have to go back and do the basics. How to block, how to tackle, how to do footwork, and sometimes we get too fancy with nutrition, make it harder than it needs to be. When really we got to understand the fundamentals first before you go forward and have some success with nutrition. And as I said earlier, really changing your body is about 70–80% of it is going to come from nutrition, because you can have a really, really good workout, but you can erase the effects of that workout pretty quick with the wrong types of nutrition, with the wrong type of choices. And whether your goal is to lose body fat or just to feel better or to perform better, maybe you're in some kind of sport, this all can be applied to that, because when your nutrition is better, you're going to be more consistent energy-wise throughout the day. You're going to have better workouts. You're going to have more energy for your kids. It all applies whether it's a weight loss goal or not. So I'm going to go ahead and get rolling into this. Kind of intense. So everybody, the nutrient, where's macronutrient we talk about is carbs. Everybody's really kind of demonized this nutrient. You hear all about these low-carb diets. And there is a little bit of truth to that. I think in general, Americans typically eat too many carbohydrates from what I see. We need the carbs. It's our body's primary source for energy. But typically the problem I see with America when I look at these journals is people are eating too many carbs. And they're eating the carbs at a level that probably where athletes should be eating. Like, athletes probably need more carbs because they're training harder, but a lot of us in America sit at a desk where we have very sedentary lifestyles. And there's a saying in a recent article I read on nutrition: you have to earn a carb, and that means you have to eat as many carbs as necessary so that you can burn them off, really. Because a lot of people will eat more than they need to burn off, and most of us aren't training for some major event. So really, if you're going to manipulate one thing when it comes to fat loss, it's going to be carbohydrates, is what I see. Most people do pretty good on fat, but this is where I see food journals typically are way high in percentages, in 60–70%. Typically, I recommend about 40% of your calories are coming from carbohydrates. Some people will even drop them a little bit lower. It just really depends on what they can tolerate. But you can't completely cut carbs out. I mean, that works for that's an advanced thing you might do if you were a bodybuilder or some kind of figure athlete. But if you try to completely cut carbs out and you try to exercise, you're going to bonk. You're going to hit the wall. And you're your primary source for energy. So if you have no energy in your muscles, your workouts are not going to feel well. So with this jump start, what we want to do is we want to make sure people are a little more balanced. We're not saying carbs are bad. We're saying you need to cut back a little bit on them, maybe up things like proteins and good fats a little bit more, and get your macronutrients in a little more balance. The best sources of carbs, people typically don't really understand what's a carb, what's a protein. The best thing I can tell you is carbs are always going to come from a plant source. Something that's like, meat is not a carb. And I say some of you guys already know this, but people really have a hard time, I noticed, distinguishing that, is what's more of a carb and what's more of a protein. And your carbs should always come, most of the time, there's the old 80–20 rule. 80% of the time should come from a whole food source, such as instead of like an instant rice, more of as getting like the natural rice, or a packaged potato, cook a regular potato. That's I see a lot of people as they're eating things that are packaged and processed versus the natural form. So when you hear the term whole food, you want it to be in the natural form. As much natural. The more that it's packaged, processed, and kind of manipulated by man, the less the nutrient quality generally typically is. And so we always